It's a pretty exciting day for you and your company. Why the bet on the U.S.?
First of all, thank you for having me. While we may be in the gambling business, but we don't gamble. The large investment was made some time ago when we acquired what we see as the best piece of real estate on the Las Vegas Boulevard. And then when the economy slows and finally when COVID hit, it's fortunate that we did not need to have to pause our construction. So as we are coming out of it, we are really very well placed. All the indicators here in terms of increase in tourist numbers to Las Vegas are looking very, very positive. So we are very confident as we open our resort, which is today. As you can see behind me, it's super exciting.
What kind of numbers are you anticipating? What kind of recovery are you anticipating? It is a highly competitive market, and even before the pandemic hit, there was hardly any growth.
Well, I suppose that is true. Even just after the pandemic hit, of course, the numbers got worse. And in terms of lockdowns and whatnot, I suppose that has built up unmet demand that people have stayed at home for so long. And now with the increase in vaccination and the becoming a habit in terms of how we wash our hands and wear our masks, I think it has given the consumers the confidence to spend again. And it definitely looks that way, at least here in the United States, especially Las Vegas.
So what kind of numbers are you looking at? Give us a sense here of the optimism you have.
You know, in terms of our bookings, which of course with our great partner, Hilton, we are looking at fantastic numbers, especially over the weekends and the public holiday. For instance, the 4th of July, we are solidly booked at ADRs that we have not seen even before the pandemic. So in terms of our budget, we are confident that maybe we would even beat our plan. You just heard the lion dance in the background.
Lion dance, of course, it's a good luck thing. Country Lim, I'm just wondering, what is different this time around? Because your earlier ventures in Miami and Catskills didn't do as well as you had anticipated. And why is the presence in the U.S. so important? Has this got to do with your global ambitions?
Yes, it has always been that because of gaming in Malaysia, as you may know, the growth in Malaysia is limited in that industry. So we have to look overseas to expand and to deploy our expertise that we have picked up over the last 50 years. So we are superbly confident that it will be a good investment for all the projects that we have ongoing, both on the East Coast as well as the West Coast.
Any plans to list your U.S. businesses just like you did for your businesses here in Singapore, in Malaysia, in Hong Kong? IPO plans?
Definitely. I think as the numbers pick up and when investors' confidence return, that would be something that we will seriously look at in terms of consolidating our U.S. investment and then seek a listing.
Is there a sense when that could be? Because the U.S. is already showing signs. It is emerging from the pandemic. The economy is stronger now than about a year and a half ago.
Yes, now that we are open, we are eagerly waiting for the first 30 days results. And then, of course, that would bring us to the quarter. And that would definitely give us tremendous clarity in terms of the timing of the IPO.
How about your sports and online business, Tan Sri? I mean, what's your strategy there in the US?
The technology obviously is a differentiator we can use, especially when we are the brand new player in the market. So the advantage there is that, like for instance, Resorts World Las Vegas, we will open up with cashless gaming that could easily translate into an online platform. And touch screens that may not even require the players to be touching chips and cards. So technology, AI, and everything that brings will change the face of casino gaming as we know it today.
You're optimistic about the recovery in the US. How about the rest of the markets you're operating in? Have you seen the worst from the impact of the pandemic on gaming?
Maybe in Asia, we are being superbly cautious, and the economy may yet take a bit more time to find its feet. But I've no doubt that it would follow the trend as we see now in the West. So having access to the data directly through our business here in the United States, it would definitely help us plan our strategy back in Asia.
And speaking of strategy, I'm just wondering whether there's been a tweak, or are you rethinking your strategy over the next 5 years? I mean, there's been so much emphasis on the gaming business. Given what's transpired over the pandemic period, are you looking at perhaps diversifying your business?
Well, Genting is already a very diversified business to the extreme that we are quite heavily invested, and fortunately so, in biotechnology and life sciences, which is showing in the current sort of pandemic. Those investments are at the forefront. So we are also very, very positive about the investments that we have made in the non-gaming business.
And speaking of non-gaming business, might you be interested in bidding for that digital license in Malaysia? The bidding ends at the end of this month. Have you made a bid? Will you be making a bid? Any interest?
We are seriously considering, but not just in terms of a pure banking standpoint, but in terms of a bigger picture thing as to how the digital economy, will fit into us being able to obtain a license.
And staying with Malaysia, how optimistic are you that Malaysia can, I guess, join the recovery story of the region? Is still struggling to get its vaccines, to inoculate its people, and there are also political tensions. What are you making of the prospects for recovery for the economy?
From what I hear, and sitting outside of Malaysia, I hear good things, that the speed of vaccination is picking up, and the access to vaccines seems to be flowing. So at the rate, if that rate is maintained, I think the vaccination would produce that herd immunity. We would reach that level, hopefully by end of the year, if not early next year.
Interesting to see, Tan Sri Lim, that a lot of the cruise operators have been operating the cruises to nowhere. I'm curious, I see them every night leaving at 9 p.m. From where I live. I'm just wondering, how profitable are those cruises? How much of a buffer can they provide to the losses that cruise operators are experiencing?
A cruise vacation obviously is a great option, for vacationers, especially for families and whatnot, for cruises in Asia, where Genting Hong Kong actually tailored a lot, okay, to meet the family needs. So before the pandemic hit, we were doing incredibly well, and we are hopeful, being the first cruise lines, at least here in Asia, to relaunch. We are seeing very, very good numbers. So fingers crossed. We hope that the virus continue to decline.
Before we let you go, just one final question. We know that the company has been struggling with debt payments. What can you tell us about that? Are things looking better now?
Yeah, for G Hong Kong, which is not to be confused with the rest of the Genting Group, it is true we have been hit hard by the pandemic, just as the other major cruise lines have, and they have to raise funding. And for Genting Hong Kong, we are in the midst of restructuring, and hopefully we will be able to announce, make some announcement as to where we are with the restructuring.